In a world where ads chase you everywhere, this guy makes them sharper, smarter, and actually seen. Welcome back to Brunch with Boss, the tastiest way to learn from the bold in business. Today, I'm sitting down with Sandeep Bommireddy, founder of AdOnMo, the ad tech startup which is turning adverts into breakthroughs. Let's join him.
Difficult because all the team will only come to you when they are not able to take a call on something, and usually if something came to you, that's usually relatively complex to think through.
To go from 0 to 1. So what kind of real hardships you have seen in the journey? How was it?
It was our first idea, like I was saying, having posters on cars that pretty much died before it could see the light of the day.
Sandeep Garu, welcome to Brunch with Boss. Let's head to the brunch.
Yeah.
Welcome to Brunch with Boss. Right. So, what's your go-to commute jam? Is it music, podcast, or silence?
I actually not a big music person,
Okay.
Uncle. So I usually listen to audiobooks,
Okay.
but also watch a lot of videos otherwise. So I'm not like a very reading oriented person. So, but yeah, mostly audiobooks and YouTube podcasts also.
So you prefer audiobooks and podcasts?
Yeah.
So if not Hyderabad, which city's billboard impress you the most?
Actually, I was recently in Paris. I noticed a very unique way that they were using billboards.
Okay.
So Paris, especially the main city center, has a lot of heritage structures and buildings, although privately owned. So there, the concept is whenever the building is under renovation, so everywhere else in the world they just cover it up with plain sheets to avoid air pollution and all. So there, those are the buildings that get converted as billboards, and the brand who is getting the space to advertise on that is the one who's actually funding the renovation. And I've seen some locations where the brand, like Samsung, was paying almost 5 crores a month.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a very innovative way of generating capital to preserve the heritage structures and also great visibility. And it might even come under CSR for the brand, which is then free advertising for the brand.
That certainly is. Certainly is. What's the weirdest ad you have ever seen outdoors?
Not able to recollect anyone, but I remember this one campaign when I was a kid. A very popular tagline called "Puliraja Kade Sastana."
Oh my God, that was oh my God.
I think it pretty much became a cult a line
Can't
which was
forget
later used in movies, and at least to me as a kid, I never really understood "Puliraja Kade Sastana." What are they really trying to convey? But I think it was one fantastic campaign that was a big hit.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. So when you were a kid, did you ever imagine working in advertising industry?
No, in fact, even when we started the company, it was, initially the problem statement we were trying to solve was to improve driver earnings. So it was not really to build a media company out of Hyderabad. But it kind of ended up being that. But yeah, never imagined that we would build a media tech firm.
Okay, I could recollect your AdOnMo gizmos on the cabs and all. Yeah. So, who has been your biggest mentor or influence in your career?
I think one is definitely my mom, who kind of always pushed me out of the normal path. Usually parents react very negatively when you tell them that you're quitting a comfortable job at Microsoft and trying to start up. For me, it was always the other way around. They were the ones who were trying to push me always to, especially my mom, asking me to quit Microsoft to do something on my own. And obviously, I take inspiration from a lot of people. It's not any one person that I look up to. Obviously, different people are good at different aspects. But otherwise, when it comes to business or have people that I look up to with personal health, relationships. So it's a combination of a lot of them. But
Good to
at
have
least
such kind of
entrepreneur point of
motivation.
view, I think my mom was the one who kept pushing me.
That certainly is good to have such kind of motivation right in the house. Definitely. So, were you always a morning person, or did entrepreneurship force you into it?
Yeah, I'm not at all a morning person. So I'm that guy. At least in college, we would stay up until 4 a.m. and skip breakfast, skip classes, skip lunch, and would probably wake up somewhere around 3 p.m. And that was my most, if at steady state, if no one, I had nothing to do, that was the schedule I would kind of fall into. Even now, I'm not really a morning person around 8 a.m. The discipline came in after becoming a dad more than anything else, more than entrepreneur.
Okay. When you first heard about Brunch with Boss, what was your reaction?
And it sounded to be an interesting concept.
Okay.
Of course, the full spectrum of it, I got to know today when you were talking about it, and I think it's an interesting concept. It gives a sneak peek into the everyday life a little bit, which is always curious to know. At least I'm curious to know.
Okay. If you weren't headed for this branch, where would you be right now?
Actually, no. I don't remember taking a and also the matter of fact is, for us right now, even though we take a day off, we are not technically off work, because at least a minimum of 15 to 20 calls that would come to us, which would be usually the most ugly, hairy problems that will come to us, and tough decisions that we'll need. Difficult is the right word, not tough, but difficult because on the team will only come to you when they are not able to take a call on something, and usually if something came to you, that's usually relatively complex to think through and decide. So off days are never really an off day
Off
for
day.
us.
Lately, that has been with founders. We got to be connected online.
Yeah.
So, what song or playlist do you have on repeat lately?
Right now for me it is Baby Shark, Dead to Do. My daughter's a big fan of Baby Shark, Coco Melon. So
Okay.
whenever my phone connects to the Bluetooth now, it just keeps playing Baby Shark.
Has anyone ever completely misunderstood what you do?
Yeah, very often people keep referring to us as digital ad agency. So I think that's the most common misconception of what we do. We are a media tech platform. We are a publisher, in fact. So when someone just tells someone that they're into digital marketing, while you could say that, but it's just a complete misrepresentation of what we do. So
What role does Hyderabad as a city play in shaping your journey?
I think Hyderabad for us, for me personally, is obviously home. 15 years I've been here, both as a child and grown up. And I think a lot of times I remember our investors wanted us to relocate, but we have resisted requests quite a lot. But I strongly believe that we couldn't have built AdOnMo in any other city. Also because when we started with the taxi top model, it was a very obviously regulated space. And back then the government and specific officers were quite forthcoming to new age innovation and the whole T-Hub ecosystem. It really helped us launch that, which created the snowball effect that led to where we are today. And I think I really am thankful to the city. And it's a great sandbox environment, I believe, for any brand to come test their products.
What startup advice would you give your younger self?
I would definitely ask my younger self to think more about the macros rather than getting carried away in the moment of an interesting idea. Uh, think more about what network is relatively our strength. In which case, we probably wouldn't have started an advertising business in Hyderabad. But I think macros is something I would definitely ask my younger self to think more about.
Okay. If you could advertise one personal motto on a giant billboard, what would it be?
I would definitely advertise something to promote better civic sense in people, right? Especially more in
Need of the hour.
our context. So I think good citizens make great countries. Probably one thing for sure. I think needs to be more advertised in India.
That's for the commute. Let's head to the brunch and see you at C2. Welcome to Brunch with Boss Sandeep Garu. Back
Thanks,
again to the
Uncle.
main conversation. So let's dive into the warm up of your story, right? What's the story of your first big idea and what made you to take the leap?
The first big idea or the first idea?
Big idea.
Okay, I think first idea which went big is AdOnMo only.
Okay.
So for us, at least for my co-founder Shravant and I, we wanted to do something more meaningful in terms of solving problems. So we picked driver earnings as a problem which we thought was a good socio-economic issue at that point in time to solve. And we started setting up screens on top of cabs because we thought advertising is a more sustainable way to create earnings for drivers. And one led to another. COVID hit, that business model did not survive, and then we made the pivot, and this one really scaled up.
So, how did your upbringings, early experience shape your entrepreneurial journey?
I like to bring people together to do interesting stuff. That's been kind of my nature always. Even during school, whenever we would organize meetups to play sports and all, I would always be the one to take initiative. And that's pretty much ingrained in me. So when we started AdOnMo, bringing that initial team together, getting that energy going and all was something that I felt that naturally came to me, and something from my upbringing that helped us. But also, I think as entrepreneurs, it's important to be ethical and responsible towards your investors and also your employees. I think that was a big thing that was kind of again ingrained deeply in my upbringing, both from my grandfather and also my parents, who are all extremely honest. I would consider them to be far more honest than even I am. And that kind of helped us build a good culture, not just within the team, but also a good reputation with our investors of transparency.
So lucky to have such a family who motivates you. So, what was your aha moment when you knew this was that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think the aha moment was definitely. I think this was this one time when we were initially when we were planning the model of helping drivers with earnings, we were still only thinking about the apps on cabs. To be very honest, but this one time I was actually in Goa in Anjuna Beach, and we saw a cab go around which had the canopy on top. Party tonight at Anjuna Beach, and it was contextually going around in Anjuna Beach at evening 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. kind of a time frame. That kind of stuck with me. I thought, what if this ad could change based on the location and time of the day, and wherever a cab goes around, it could have the most relevant advertising on top. That's how the whole taxi top digital idea came about. And it was very interesting to see that model evolve for the 3 years that we ran it.
So you thought of making them geo-specific,
Yeah,
targeted ad
it's
platform.
targeted. It's very similar to how online ads would work. So with traffic, with location, with time of the day, content could change
But in the
automatically.
physical world.
Yeah, in the physical world.
Great one. That's a lovely eureka moment, definitely. Right. So, who was the first person you pitched your idea to, and what was their reaction?
Actually, this is an interesting story. A distant uncle of mine actually was one of the first investors in Tesla and an early investor in Google. He stays in the Valley. Needless to say, a very seasoned investor. So when we first started, we somehow were in this dreamy world that if two kids with good pedigree would go to an investor with an idea, they would just throw money at us, right? That's the world we somehow were dreamy about it. But the very first time we pitched this, we of course did a terrible job. Not just talking about the idea. The idea itself was terrible because we were trying to do posters on the cars. And end of the meeting, we were just so proud about ourselves, and we were expecting him to say, "Okay, you have a $5 million check." This was when we had an idea, nothing else. He, of course, burst our bubble, but in a very nice, soft way, and said, "Guys, great that you've started up. You don't always have to stick with the idea that you started with. Just continue, keep going." And then he said, clearly, what we are expecting in terms of capital and cash is just absurd and insane. And that kind of got us back to the ground. And then we started pitching for much smaller checks. From $5 million, we came down to $10,000 of check size. We started pitching. I think that first meeting was a memory in itself.
Great one. That could have been quite a learning experience for how to even arrange a page for yourselves and all, right?
Yeah.
Thanks to that uncle. Yeah, for sure. So, AdTech in India wasn't seen as sexy. What gave you conviction to jump in to that sector?
So I think obviously initially when we started, it was not meant to be an ad tech business, but it turned out to be an ad tech business. Was once we got into it, we've understood some macros which are very strongly favoring the business, right? Because if you look at India as a whole, we are obviously going through this GDP boom, which is adding to a consumption boom, which when consumption boom happens, majority of the money won't go into the essentials. It actually goes into discretionary spending to get goods that are aspirational. And if you look at advertising overall, advertising is rarely done for goods which are like basic essentials like your rice or your pulses and things like that, right? It's always done for the aspirational goods to create an aspiration. So in India, being one of the fastest growing consumer economies, we are also extremely under indexed on advertising. We are one of the smallest per capita advertising spent globally. That's the reason why advertising market overall is growing fastest in India compared to all large economies. I think we realized this macro very quickly. I think when we started the business, Indian advertising market was around 70,000 crores. Today, it's already about 160,000 crores, more than double of where we were. And it's only going to double every 3 to 4 years from here, or 5 years from here. I think it's a very exciting time to be in the advertising space, not just as an ad tech, but also as a publisher. And number two, for us uniquely, what happened was vertical urbanization in India started taking off about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And that really created the environment for such a business model to exist. And in most countries like China, there are very mature business models doing exactly what we are doing, which are all multi-billion-dollar annual revenue businesses. So I think there's a big opportunity for us here in India. And overall, as advertising media space, there's a big opportunity.
Great. Did your family and peers support the idea, or they think it was crazy?
No, I think my family is that way. Like we were talking earlier, a very unconventional family. They've always wanted me to quit my comfortable job at Microsoft and do something on my own. So, needless to say, they were quite supportive. They were also open to putting the initial capital, but I was dead against the idea of raising capital from family. But nevertheless, we raised a lot of capital from friends of family and our friends personally. Luckily, it all worked out very well. But I think both Shravant and I, we had very good support from our families. Obviously, we weren't drawing salaries for the first 3-4 years. So they were the ones who were funding our day to day as well. So yeah, I think it's very difficult to be an entrepreneur if you don't have support from the family, for sure.
Of course, we need that pat on back and real support. Uh, so it could have been a real grind to go from zero to one. So what kind of real hardships you have seen in the journey? How was it for you?
I think 0 to 1 for us happened multiple times, first of all. Because our first idea, like I was saying, having posters on cars that pretty much died before it could see the light of the day. Then we wanted to do taxi tops, and we were doing a different format of taxi tops initially. Uh, and then we pivoted the model to do backward facing taxi tops. And then COVID hit. Then we pivoted the model to actually being a media aggregator. And then we started doing what we're doing today. So a lot of these journeys, we've kind of gone through that 0 to 1 phase, and multiple times during this journey, we were very close to dying, even as recently as 1.5 years ago, right? So I think that way it's kind of exciting, but also how many ever times you go through the journey, it's still as scary as it's the first time around. In fact, it's more scary because now you actually have people you're answerable to. You have something to lose. You have a lot of people who are working with you. So it's that way, obviously, more and more complex the larger you get. But I think we've really enjoyed the journey, and definitely our favorite part of building AdOnMo was the early days of it, when we used to do a lot of experimentation and a lot of changes.
So certainly for this magnanimous task and effort to build a startup, so how did you assemble your core founding team for this pursuit of building AdOnMo?
So luckily for us, actually, because both of us were from good colleges, we had a lot of high quality peer group in almost all the operations, technology, except for sales, of course. Sales is the only space where we hired people from outside, but otherwise within finance and everywhere else, we had our friends join the business early. So I think that is how we went about hiring the early team. Is just literally people who we trusted, and people who were willing to take the plunge. Obviously, at zero salary to begin with, that was quite critical because we didn't have money to pay out. And for the longest time, I think almost for over a year, a lot of our core team members barely made 25,000 per month, and that's quitting jobs which were paying them 3.5 lakhs per month, which was like a big change in lifestyle. But they've thankfully we've all stuck together through COVID, through all the ups and downs, and yeah, I think now we're at a place where we could look back and feel proud about what we've done.
Good to know. Good to have such a kind of core founding team. Wonderful. That's wonderful. Congrats on that. And outdoor ads are notoriously unmeasurable. How did you solve the trust with brands, that gap?
I think it's still a problem that we are always solving for. Because, like you said, outdoor ads, not just outdoor ads, most brand platforms, you take TV, you take Hotstar kind of platforms, or you take a newspaper, you take a hoarding. So, most of these brand driven platforms, clicks are not the primary metric of measurement. It's more complex. You have brand surveys, top of mind surveys that you do. So it's always slightly more complex. But there, one advantage we have being a digital media like even Hotstar or other platforms like YouTube would have is we could at least measure the deliveries more accurately, which even in spaces like TV, newspaper, just delivery measurement itself is a complex thing. So we were able to do that. And now recently we have also integrated our platform into Google. So advertisers now can access our inventory through Google directly and have Google generate reports of delivery for them, which is obviously the gold standard in
That's
digital
a wonderful
advertising.
move.
Yeah.
Strategic move, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's a problem that we still continue to solve and improve on, but I think now we are at a much better place than the industries.
Great going. So, what was the toughest rejection you faced in the early days?
I think multiple. I think the first check uh, of 20 lakhs came to us after almost some 15, 20, 30 meetings that we have done. Obviously, all rejections. And the first check also was a very coincidental check that came to us when we were at a wedding talking about what we were doing to a random stranger who turned out to be an investor in his own capacity. So I think rejections, even till date, we still face a lot of rejections, let it be from clients or people we really want to hire or even investors for that matter, right? So I think that's just part of life. And one thing good about both Shravant and uh, me, we never took rejections too seriously. We were just always thinking about that one incremental step on what is the next thing to do.
Right, right. So, how do you balance being a creative driven company with data driven execution?
So I think for us, creative is not as core to our business as data and the publishing side of things, right? Because our primary task of creative generation, although we help smaller businesses do it with a little bit of AI, a little bit of human creative team that we have. But a large chunk of our business, the creative part of it is done already by the time it comes to us. So we are more about giving the brand the right kind of reach, the right quality of reach, and give them the breadth at the same time, the frequency that they require to cement a brand recall in a person's mind. I think that's where we spend most of our time.
Great. So, what's one decision you made early on that completely changed your growth trajectory?
I think the pivot that we made during COVID and the decision to discontinue the taxi top business, which was the only business we were doing until then, and then deciding to put all our forces, or rather our eggs, in this basket of what we are doing today. I think that definitely changed our trajectory because the taxi top business, because it had a lot many more moving parts, was a much more difficult business to execute. And at least right now, the number of variables we control are limited. And that's also the reason why scalability is immense in the business that we are currently running.
So, let's get into rapid fire. Yeah. Best ad jingle of all time.
I think Airtel, for sure. Airtel had this music, A.R. Rahman's iconic music.
Right, right, right. Print ads are digital.
Digital now.
Okay. New York Times Square or Shibuya Crossing.
Times Square.
Times Square. Funniest client feedback you ever got?
Funny, it's always serious. Client feedback is actually never funny.
Most stressful, is it pitch day or campaign launch?
Pitch day.
Pitch day. If you weren't doing ad tech, what career would you pick?
If I were not in ad tech,
If you weren't in ad tech.
I think I would love to build products in general. So I would still be probably a product manager.
Okay. Favorite brand you would love to run a campaign for?
We work with most of my favorite brands, and but yeah, I think some of these Tesla, sure, I would love to run a campaign for them someday. Uh,
Great. So, which Indian startup tells the best story with ads?
Zomato is, I think, a marketing genius.
I really love their Blinkits bags and the whole. Yeah, really. Sleepless nights are early mornings.
I think late nights for sure. Early mornings, anything before 7:30 is a task.
Okay. Your go to comfort food.
It keeps changing. At this point in time, I really like my mother-in-law's biryani.
What's the most Hyderabadi thing about you?
I'm a big foodie, like everyone else in Hyderabad.
Yeah. Would you rather have unlimited ad space or unlimited budget?
Of course, unlimited budget.
Speed or perfection?
Again, which project it depends, but most projects I would prefer speed over perfection.
Okay. Your current runway in days.
Kind of infinite because we've been profitable for the last few months.
Great. Great. In one line, what's your company's mission?
To be a ubiquitous urban platform beyond just advertising.
Okay. Customer feedback, would you like it sugar coated or brutal honesty?
I think somewhere in between. Sugar coated is definitely not good. Brutal honesty with a nice bit of encouraging words would be great.
One word for your competition.
We are open to collaborate any point in time.
Okay. Would you sell your startup tomorrow for 100 crores?
No.
Right. One founder myth you want to kill.
That building a startup is glamorous. Not at all.
So that's a wrap with rapid fire. And this is Sandeep Bommireddy for us, who is showing that ads are not only noise but could be a great narrative. And if it resonates with you, hit like, subscribe, and share Brunch with Boss. And a big shout out to our host, YouTube Brew House, and our gifting partner, Naila, our ecosystem partners, Startup Spirit, Octane, and Giant Leaps, and our production house, Clip Hive. And signing off. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Uncle. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting.
Hope you enjoyed.